Even injured, Kyrie Irving gets his message across. My name's Mike Petralia, joined by Bobby Manning and Josue Pavone.
What up,
This
Trags?
Garden Report,
Hey, guys.
It's good to be joined by both of you. This Garden Report is brought to you by our great friends at 1-in-100. Go to 1in100.co now and register for your chance to win killer Pats, Bruins, and Celtics tickets for the cost of a pizza or a large beer, and enter in a raffle for a chance to win Patriots divisional playoff tickets at Gillette Stadium on Sunday, January 13th. Go to 1in100.co today. All right, Kyrie Irving, everybody knows, missed his second straight home game here on Friday night, a 114-93 win over the Mavericks. But it is what he did before the game, Josue, that Jaylen Brown made reference to after Brown scored 21 points in the win. It was really important, I think, for Kyrie Irving to get his message across to each and every player, and that's what Jaylen Brown said Kyrie did before the game.
Right, exactly, Trags. And I thought it was interesting because this wasn't a question that was thrown at him. It wasn't like one of those situations where someone said, hey, did Kyrie Irving talk to you guys before the game? Jaylen Brown brought it up, and I think it's because it made a big impact. I think the fact that he also not only just talked to Jaylen Brown, but Jaylen Brown said that he was talking to everyone. Sort of had one-on-ones with every single Celtics player, and I think that's sort of important. We obviously saw some of that throughout the postseason last year. We saw what that did for this squad, and I think that made an impact against this, Dallas Mavericks team, a team that was been playing really good basketball coming into this, coming into the TD Garden, and then you saw the Celtics respond right away. They made that defensive impact right at the start of the first quarter, sort of resonated from there. But seeing Kyrie Irving on the bench, constantly talking to his guys, cheering his guys on, and of course throughout the timeout huddles, putting his 2 cents in.
Unlike Game 7, right?
That's the one exception, Bobby. That's right. I was thinking that too. I was going to bring it up, Bobby, but you're right. That's the one exception.
The leadership on this team has been talked about a lot, but I am adamant that they have strong leaders on this team, and we're seeing so many examples of it. Marcus Smart tonight was getting into Hayward and Tatum for getting up the floor faster. He's been a vocal leader on this team. Irving gave Hayward that pep talk early in the year, be more aggressive. And ever since that Rozier incident that they had, the trade request or rumored discontent on the team, I think the chemistry issues have settled down in this group, and it's more disjointed lineups and combinations and injuries and other things that are plaguing them. This team still has a lot of problems. I'm not concerned about the leadership.
And I'm glad, Bobby, you brought up the fact that it was Marcus Smart, who has also shown some leadership, did so in the absence of Kyrie Irving here on Friday night. He had a very good performance from three-point land, 5 of 7. But Marcus Smart, before Kyrie Irving arrived here in Boston, before last season, by all accounts, was the leader in that locker room. He was the go-to guy. If a message had to be delivered, a stern message, it was Marcus Smart. And I think it's interesting to note that I think Marcus Smart still carries that cachet. If he wants to get a message across, he's not stepping on Kyrie Irving's toes. He can still do it.
Right.
There was a timeout this year, too, where he was digging into the team after a bad stretch. There's so many examples of good leadership on this team, and you don't know what's going on inside the locker room. You just get the visuals and what we see on the outside. But those things are all good to me. I don't see a lot of negative body language and stuff like that, and it starts at the top. It's good to have your 2 starting guards play that kind of role on the team.
Right, and Bobby, as the longest tenure Celtic, I feel like Marcus Smart sort of puts himself in that position. He knows how important he is to this team, especially as the defensive anchor. And it really came down to defense tonight against the Mavericks. It boiled down to those key stops down the stretch when they went on that run, that 10-0 run that seemed like it was going to come down to a wire, or at least that they would trim it or get a little closer. It was the defense that really made the difference. And I think obviously it starts with and ends with Marcus Smart, and seeing that resonate throughout the team isn't a coincidence when you see guys like Marcus Smart getting into people's, not necessarily getting into their faces, but making a point to point out what needs to be done, or maybe even complimenting guys when they step up big.
I also think that it really gives a lot of weight to what Kyrie Irving said 2 weeks ago on that Friday night after that horrible loss to the Milwaukee Bucks.
Players only meeting.
That was the one I was thinking of.
Didn't have energy. Well, tonight, they certainly had their lapses against Dallas. They let a inferior Dallas team on the road back into the game here at TD Garden, but they managed to put them away in the second half. Before the game, by the way, Brad Stevens said that Kyrie Irving continues to make progress from his eye injury. It's one of those things, they'll still play it day by day, but I think he'll be back sooner than later, in reading Brad Stevens' words before the game.
And nothing on his eye, which is good. No goggles or anything like that. No pirate eye patch. None of that. So Feels like he'll be back sooner rather than later. Morris, I'm a little more worried about Morris because he was shooting 50, 40, 90, which is a hard thing to keep up without a shoulder.
Plus, he has an all-star game to make, Bobby, so you need to see him back out there, right?
Yeah. So I'm worried about those.
Bobby doesn't agree. No.
I want to see Luka Doncic out there. That's who I want to see.
Oh,
but
you might make it too.
I'm worried about those slipping just a little bit because he's been doing all that since day one this year, and Brad said that before the game too. If that slips even just a little bit, that's going to be a significant drawback on this team.
I think it's just growing pains, fellas. You know, figuratively and literally. You know, you're seeing this team go through it. What you see through the stretch of an 82, regular season, which is obviously what we've seen from this Celtics team the last couple of years. Injuries, constantly playing in this roster. Hopefully it's not long term, but in the meantime, seeing guys buckle down, seeing Brad Stevens go deep into his bench and guys step up is certainly the identity of this team, or at least what we want to see for a championship caliber team that we see in the Boston Celtics in the long run.
And another note, Brad Stevens gave Brad Wanamaker a lot of credit for J.J. Barea slowing down, which is something that's plagued the Celtics in the past.
All right, as the Celtics continue to struggle to search for their identity, which I think is safe to say here as we are in early January, Kyrie Irving is still making his voice known loud and clear, even though he's not out there on the basketball court. Celtics beat the Mavericks here on Friday night by a score of 114-93. This Garden Report brought to you by 1-100. Go to 1-100.co now and register for your chance to win killer Bruins and Celtics tickets, as well as a chance to enter into a raffle for a chance to win tickets to the Patriots divisional round game at Gillette Stadium on January 13th.